having, someone like you that's been in Silicon Valley for this long, it's interesting. And I'm curious your perspective on this, because you mentioned Jerome Powell calling it like a store of value. I think China came out like last week and said it's like a store of value. I mean, we're seeing that from these, even CitiBank and JP have been coming out and kind of saying these things, but yet we still have all these other people like, whether it's Mark Cuban, or we have, seemingly very smart technology driven people. Talib recently came out the same thing and said it's not a currency, it's not a store of value, it's too speculative. And it seems that like they've completely forgotten that technology has to evolve. Like, just because it's not something today doesn't mean it's not going to be something in the future. So as a Silicon Valley kind of tech guy, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, there's a couple things here. One, to address the volatility question, where a lot of people are just kind of put off by that. I'm like, how did you think any major, gigantic, valuable company ever got that big?
Right.
It wasn't a nice, perfect linear function from $0 market share to like a $1 market share, $2 market share. No, it was like these ebbs and flows of investor interest and execution. Bitcoin, in a similar function, does that. With Silicon Valley, though, it's been a little bit disappointing. Silicon Valley tech people inherently don't get Bitcoin. Their first inclination, and I wrote about this too, because it was a very rare thing. And a bunch of folks agreed with me too, which at first I wrote this and I was like, man, am I going to put myself out here? And are people going to be like, cool, Dan, that's a nice opinion. A bunch of people in tech who are into Bitcoin came out and they were like, this is exactly how the system works.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley has two primary players, VCs, so venture capital or people who fund startups, and startups. VCs are constantly looking at what's next. Whatever's hot, they want to pile in on. They don't care, and most of them aren't subject matter experts. They can't be experts in every single sector. Right. So they either outsource that, bring in people, or they just choose a theme. They're thematic. It's a thematic investment into AR, VR, drones, Bitcoin, chatbots, you name it. And what happens is you go deploy capital, and the VCs know 1 out of 100 make it. So they just look for whatever's hot, super hot, and they put in capital there. It was one of the most disappointing things to find out ever about Silicon Valley. Venture capitalists are not risk takers at all. They claim to be, but they're not. Yeah. So what happens is they will never go against the grain versus all the other VCs. There's like a top 4 couple of VC firms. They choose what's hot. And if they don't choose what's hot, what happens is that the LPs, so the investors in your fund, they go, well, why aren't you talking about this other subject that they're talking about?
Right.
Why are you investing in something else that's not the common narrative? And it's very counterintuitive, because you would expect VCs to be into contrarian investments. That's the whole point, right?
Right.
What happens is that they're beholden to the LPs still, and the LPs will give them a lot of they'll give them a lot of shit if they don't get into these like more thematic plays that are endorsed by the hot VCs. There's also a joke, if you get into, there's the hot VCs, and if you can get in with them, it's kind of like the saying, no one ever got fired for buying an IBM. Well, no one ever got fired for investing alongside A16Z.
Right.
So that was kind of a big element, and I'll weave this all together into Bitcoin here pretty quick. So that's a big element, that they're not contrarian, and that they largely chase narratives, and the narratives ebb and flow very quickly. Like, does anyone talk about chatbots?
No. Yeah.
But remember that whole trend for a while?
Sure.
It was super hot, or AR, VR.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing an AR headset. I'm a gamer.